All right, traveling on a budget. I have parents ask me all the time, how am I able to move around? You've expressed interest on how to travel, so here's the video where I'm just gonna give it all to you. I'm gonna explain that you absolutely can travel on a budget. You could even work and travel. It's all possible, and you can use my own story as to how to do it. So as we know, one of the videos is learning how to listen and making sure that you're able to hear. Because if you have your ears in tune, you'll know exactly what God wants you to do. When Kidsplosion was began, I knew that it was a world venture. I knew it was something that was all over the world. But of course, like most of us, I was waiting on the resources to actually be able to go and start. Well, in 2017, this is what happened. This is a true story. I listened, and basically, God made me, okay, travel around the world. But here's what made it worse: I did not have money. I had to plan an entire trip around the world, and all I had was about 3,000 US dollars. Oh, it gets actually worse than this, but here's what happened. So I obeyed in terms of planning. So I'm like, okay, fine. God's going to give me some money. So I planned it, and I planned the entire world venture. I had Australia, New Zealand. That was the South Pacific. Then I went over into Asia, Japan, China. Then, of course, the Middle East, into Northern Africa, Europe, etc. I planned it all out. Now it's actually time to go, and I never had the money that I was expecting. So I had $3,000, and I had to make a decision. Do I listen and obey what I know I have to do, or do I not go? Well, my obvious reaction was to not go, which is most of you would do. Be stuck. Oh, by the way, my son was with me. So yeah, this was a whole mess. When I tell you it was a severely difficult decision, I cried. My son is my witness. I remember being in that apartment crying and kicking and screaming because in order for me to go, I had to get my things out of the apartment because my lease was ending where I was. I would have to get my things out of the apartment, take the little bit of money I had, and instead of going and getting another place, put my things in storage and literally get on the plane and leave. So of course I fought, I cried, I kicked, I screamed. I mean, you can ask my son. I did not want to go, but I knew I had to go. Obedience is not easy. Obedience is not easy. If you think about Abraham in the Bible, God told him to kill his son. If you think about Noah, God told him to build a boat and it wasn't raining. When God asks you to do stuff, it's almost never easy. It's not something that's logical. It's not something like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, that's the reason a lot of people have trouble with obedience, because they're waiting on it to make sense. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're hearing God's voice and he's asking you to do something, there's a good chance it's something that you don't want to do. Okay? Of course, there's a happy ending to this story. But anyway, here's what happened. When I tell y'all, all I had was $3,000, and I trade stocks. I flip stocks. So I was able to be slightly optimistic because I was still having faith that something was going to happen, and I was going to somehow, this money was going to go up. We were on the first flight from LA to Sydney, Australia. Okay. You know, when you land, you're able to see, like, the internet somehow is right, and you're able to see. And when I tell you, I watched that 3,000 turn into like nothing. I got on that. I was like, oh. It was about the biggest disaster because I'm now in the most expensive city, respectively, that we were traveling to. Sydney is hecka expensive. I'm in the most expensive city and we ain't got no money. Why would God do that? I'm gonna tell you why he did it. Oh, well, wait, let me tell you. So to get from the airport, this whole story is a joke. But anyway, to get from the airport to the Airbnb cost $100. Okay, so I was messed up because all I had was $200, and I was like, "What are we about to do in Sydney with no money?" Because everything is expensive in Sydney. We got from the Airbnb to the Airbnb. That cost $100. I had $100 left. We were there for a week. I remember telling my son, I said, I don't know what we getting ready to do because every single thing costs money. Here's what we did. We learned to improvise. We packed the lunch. We figured out how to take the train. We went down to the Opera House. We did what we did the thing. And obviously we learned Sydney, like, not as a tourist, but as like someone who lives there, as a family, as home, okay, as home. If you're a tourist, you have money. Do you understand what I'm saying? You go to these different places and you have money, and that's what's so unique about how God did this with me, okay? Every city and country we went to, he only gave me enough money to like learn. He didn't give me enough money to be a tourist. He didn't give me enough money to live the best life in each city. But I was able to learn. But more importantly, I was able to make family, not friends. Family, not friends. By the time we got to the Middle East, so imagine we did Sydney, we did New Zealand. I had barely enough money. We was just figuring it out there in these world streets. When we got to the Middle East, which was now Dubai, and I was most looking forward to getting to UAE at that time. And it was 2018, my very first time in UAE. I loved it so much. I knew I was gonna love it. It's a business place, you know. I get it. I just get it. I loved it so much that I married it. That I told my son, go get a shell, you know, and I put the shell on my finger, and I was like, I want to become one with this place. I love it so much. Well, you know, be careful what you ask for. Not even 2 days later. Now, mind you, we already don't have money like that, right? But I did garner it up. At least I garnered it up by the time we got to UAE, because I told you I'm flipping stocks and I'm hustling. In UAE, 2 days after that, my card that I was transferring from the stock account into it was hot. And so somebody in New York went to Taco Bell on my card and was spending up that money. When you're overseas, if your card numbers are stolen, it's a catastrophe, because you can't cancel the card and order a new card, because obviously you can't get the card. So I ended up having to run to an ATM super fast and pull out the rest of the cash. I pulled out $200. I need you to understand. I had to finish out my world adventure with $200, and I was in UAE, and that is all I had. Listen to the next things I'm going to say, because it's actually hard to believe. My son and I survived in United Arab Emirates, aka Dubai. Actually, we were all over Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi. But anyway, we survived for 40 days with no money, because that 200 actually paid for the Airbnb. Wait, we survived in that country for a whole 40 days without money. When I tell you we had a place to stay, we had food, we had every single thing, a safe place. We were so blessed. Now, I won't get into the story on how all of this came about. There was even a day where, like, I wasn't feeling well. I had medicine. Everybody loved on me so much, and my son. There's really no explanation, but here's the bottom line. That voice that's inside of me pushed me out into the world. And he pushed me out into the world not as a tourist. He pushed me as a world traveler, like a citizen of the world. Because everywhere I went, I was home. I didn't have a choice but to be home, because I did not have money to be a tourist. And what I gained from that literally is family all over the world. I can tell you story upon story about how many people saved the day in each city. For example, we were in Egypt. It was so bad. We couldn't even leave the airport because we didn't have the $20 visa to leave. So we was just sitting at the airport. You see how powerful obedience is? We're sitting at the airport, me and this child, and we just like wondering how we were going to leave the airport. Somebody came, obviously paid for us, put us in a hotel. People looked out for us. People looked out for us all over the world, from Asia to New Zealand. And when I think of that trip and where I am today, to be 100% honest with you, it made absolutely no sense at that time. None. But Kidsplosion is now, licensed in 4 countries, operating in 5 countries, and I can go literally wherever I want. When I say I know people everywhere, I'm actually not exaggerating. And Zion will tell you, my son will tell you, I literally know people everywhere. I can take a globe, I could spin it and stop, go there, and I'm gonna be home. Because I learned that you don't need money to travel. You don't need money to travel. What you do need is that voice that's inside of you. You need some God, Allah, the Lord, okay? And you need the right spirit. So I'll give you a couple travel hacks on how I managed to make it out there in them world streets, honey, without money. All right, so let's start with flights. There are absolutely ways that you can book flights without paying like the main number one. Don't do that. No way, Jose. There's something called a VPN, okay? And that's where you're telling your phone where you are. In the United States of America, flights are going to be higher because we have a higher currency, right? The US dollar. So when you buy your flights, if you buy them on a US currency, they're going to be more expensive. However, there are countries around the world that their currency is lower. So if you buy your flights in different countries, depending on where it is, the flight's going to be cheaper. So when I was bouncing around the world, I learned that because we would need a flight to the next destination, or I might change my destination, and I was able to do it because whatever country we were in, if I purchased the flights in that country, the flights were very, very reasonable. So much that even right now, I'll give you a travel hack. In Europe right now, because it's winter time, the tickets are very cheap to fly, okay? And a lot of people in Europe take trains. So if you wanted to go from, say, Paris to UK, right? You can take a train, it's gonna cost you like $200, but you literally can fly for about $20. So if you wanna go see Europe, a great way to do it is go in the winter when it's kind of cold. Don't go in the summer when everybody else is going. When it's kind of cold, and you can actually move around at a really low rate. There's similar ways of everywhere you can go. So that's flights anyway. You can either turn on a VPN and change your location in your phone and buy the flights on that currency. Or of course, if you're in that country, you can wait until you're there and travel on off season. So that way, you still can move around. Other ways, obviously, stay away from the tourism areas, right? So every city that you would want to travel to has areas where the tourists are. So they're obviously going to charge more money. If you're not in the touristy areas, the prices are more likely to be reasonable. Again, considering if you're coming from the US, you have a stronger currency, more than likely. So if you do, as long as you stay away from the areas where the tourists are, you're probably going to have better luck as far as getting things low cost. And I mean really, really low cost. So those are just 2 travel hacks. I would absolutely love to give you more information. So in the chat, just ask me some general questions. But here's the overall consensus of the whole thing. When it comes to travel, okay, too many of us, especially women, will wait. We'll wait until we have the money. We'll wait until, our friends or our spouse or our homegirl go with us. We'll wait until this and we'll wait until this. And I'm going to tell you now, you're going to wait until there is no more time. Even you'll wait until you're too old to go, because in a certain age, you ain't going to want to go anymore. I strongly advise for you to invest in yourself. Somebody else may not invest in you, even your own spouse. He might not care like you do. If it's something you want to do and you know you're supposed to do it, I'm telling you now, just go. Do not sit around, oh, but I should wait on this. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm scared of this. Oh, I have fear. Just go, okay? I do strongly advise, you definitely need help when in Africa. It's good to have somebody you know and trust, and be smart. But again, y'all got me now. This is a community. If you have questions about certain countries, just put it in the chat. I'm happy, grateful even to help, because I genuinely want us, I need us all to be free and have peace, because there's all kinds of uncertainties ahead of us, and I do not want anyone getting left behind. You understand? So if you don't have your passport, invest in yourself. Get that passport and get about. Learn, explore, grow, educate yourself. Invest in yourself. You are the best investment. You just are. You just are. And those memories that you create are so incredibly valuable. Oh, I'll say one more thing. When I started traveling and taking my son with me when he was in grade 5, he was in online school. So from grade 5 to 12, he was moving around, Earth with me. And I heard, you can only imagine all the foolishness I heard. Why are you taking that boy? Blah, 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 blah. Boy, let me tell you, black people are some haters. Boy, they some haters. I'm gonna look you all the way in the eyeballs. Listen, parents. When I tell you that was literally one of the best freaking decisions of my life. If you have children, especially boys, don't you dare let somebody tell you not to expose them to the world. Don't you dare. When I tell you, my son, I have one son, is so blessed because he has experienced the world. His friends are the world. My son, he knows extreme poverty. He knows extreme wealth. He knows the full gamut. His I cannot stress to you enough. So step 1, yes, invest in yourself. And once you are educated yourself, invest in your children, okay? And do not sit here and hear what I'm saying and immediately think, oh, that's not for me. I can't do that. I don't got no money for that. I will come through this and smack the mess out of you. I just told you I went around the world with $200. And I mean the whole world. I ain't talking about Australia. You know how expensive Sydney is? Now, if I could do it, okay, and y'all know I'm obviously still over. I'm everywhere. I don't even say anymore like where I am. It don't matter, because wherever I am, I'm gonna be somewhere else in a few minutes. So it just don't matter. But what I am saying to you, invest in yourself. Invest in your children. If you have further questions, feel free. Put some comments in go on, ask the questions. I'd rather you sit and ask me questions than to sit there and limit yourself. Because if you limit yourself, you limit God. I'm looking forward to seeing you in my travels.